Hello there. The theme that seems to be coming up more and more in 2016 is this understanding of the dual component of our nature, the light and the dark. And it seems that this year is the year for any flakiness or dodginess or attempt to hide from the shadow side, the aspect of ourselves we might not want to look at. It's as if any pretenses and disguises are just being stripped away. And so it's in the nature of this work that I'm engaged in at the moment. It's winter time, and winter time is naturally a time for me to be focusing inward, doing my own inner work, healing myself. And I've been aided and abetted enormously by Rachel Sivapriya, and she has initiated me into two forms of work. One is working with yoga and meditation combined, a particular form called Kriya, and that's to detox the system. And I've been doing a process to increase courage. It's a 40-day process, and I'm on day 38. And as well as that, we're also working on something which is called shadow dance. And shadow dance is a way of working whereby what you do is you bring archetypes, aspects of our nature, aspects of the ego that runs amok, or the rational mind. We bring these aspects out and give them names and let them speak, so we can find out about these hidden, these dark, these mysterious aspects of ourselves which normally we deny, and when times get rough and we get triggered, they just leap out and take control. So the idea of doing the work with a shadow is that instead of these aspects leaping out when we don't wish them to, we're working with them consciously, and we're giving them room, giving them space in which to breathe, in which to communicate with us. So it's really a matter of allowing aspects of ourselves which are normally covered up or hidden the chance to communicate with us, so we can get to find out about who we are more. So it's all about know yourself. On day 38 of doing this process, having done a fair bit of work with the shadow dance and having uncovered about 8 different archetypes, while I was actually doing the Kriya meditation yoga detox process, which takes 37 minutes, whilst I was actually doing that, I was given the name of a new shadow, a new archetype that had come up yesterday. And when it came up yesterday, I didn't have a name for it. And the name that it gave me when I was doing the 40-day Kriya was as follows: "Do you have the courage to face me?" That was its name. And I say it, I really feel strongly this is an it, not a he or a she, but an it for this archetype. Very definitely an it without gender. And I've just done a little bit of drumming to prepare myself. So let me go back a little bit. So when I'd done this 40-day Kriya for courage, almost immediately afterwards I sat down and wrote a piece of information which this being was giving to me, and I also did a drawing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to give this being, remember the being's name is "Do you have the courage to face me?" I'm going to give it its opportunity to say the first thing which it said, which I wrote down this morning. This figure, as you can see, is wearing a black hooded cloak. It has the symbol Pluto tattooed onto its forehead in black. It has piercing blue eyes which cut through all the flaky bullshit. It doesn't tolerate fools at all. It is very strong. It doesn't have much to say. It communicates with its piercing eyes. Its name, "Do you have the courage to face me?" is a challenge in itself, to me and to those I'm close to. I have a sensation in my chest as I'm writing these words between my heart and my throat. So I'll give it its voice. It's talking to me now. You left before the circle of love. The circle of love is a process which took place in the cacao ceremony last weekend, because you are not yet worthy. In the process of the circle of love, what would happen is that people would take turns to say lovely things about each other. So, you left before the circle of love because you are not yet worthy. I would not permit people to say nice things about you that are not yet true. So long as you are carrying all that shit in your throat, you are not worthy of receiving love. You know this in your heart. You've always known this. This goes back to more than 20,000 years ago, and actions that you took that results in you being successively incarnated onto this planet. You are atoning for what you did in distant past. Distant to you, not to me. However, you have now reached the point where you are so full of shit you can barely function. It's why you're so tired all the time. Respect those who dare to see you as you are, not as you may wish to be seen. So those are the words it communicated to me this morning. And then this afternoon, after I set everything up, I was doing a bit of drumming and tuning in. And there was one word that came to me, and the word is negligence. So I feel he has something more to say, and that negligence is somehow the theme of it. So I'm going to surrender the floor to it again. Every time I use the word him, the word is wrong, the word is it. So I'm going to surrender the floor to it again and see what it's got to say for itself. Keith, as you know, and it's very likely you've chosen to forget, you were not always a corporeal human being. And this word negligence is your cue. And you have another cue, and that is you and your brother David the Shaman Chef both lying on your backs on the green planet as it was exploding. This is another key or cue or clue for you. But it goes back further than all that. It goes back much deeper. You know that human beings and plants and animals have got consciousness. You know that stones and crystals and rocks have consciousness. They're sentient. You know that atoms are conscious. You know that subatomic particles are conscious. You know that galaxies are conscious. You know that solar systems are conscious and planets. Everything's alive. You know this. You've known this for a very long time. It's not so much what you did as what you didn't do. That's a negligence which you are atoning for, which is why you've been experiencing successive incarnations on this planet, so that you would be given the opportunity to atone, and whilst doing so experience what is for you severe limitation. So you are very, very familiar with being in an unbounded, limitless state, capable of manifesting whatever, whenever, completely free of linear time. This is a state which to you is natural and normal. And for you to be in a limited physical body is actually not at all a natural state, although you have experienced this many, many times now within the very narrow and linear concepts of this thing that people call clock time. But above and beyond clock time, you have experienced great power, great authority, great capability. And in your limited human context, you would probably wish to regard your present existence as some kind of a punishment, but that would be completely inaccurate. What you're experiencing is not a punishment. What you're experiencing is a different way of being, which you have chosen and has been chosen for you as a consequence of your actions. You have been negligent. You allowed something to happen that shouldn't have happened, and it had massive consequences for many, many life forms. And so within your limited human capability, you can regard your current lifetime and all other lifetimes on this planet as opportunities for atonement, opportunities to be the bigger person, to look beyond your own narrow, selfish concerns, to put the needs of others above and beyond yourself. And you've got yourself into a right mess now, because actually you are so full of shit. And by shit what I mean is repressed negative emotions due to simply things happening in this lifetime, and in other lifetimes too, that you're literally congested with it all. And so you are preparing to release it. You're preparing to release all the toxicity, particularly from your childhood, all the things that were done to you. And you're perfectly well aware of the fact that everything that was done to you is what you arranged. You're not under any foolish illusions in this regard. You know, everything that has happened to you in this lifetime has been your choice. On the soul level, it's all been your conscious choice. And this is because you choose to evolve, you choose to awaken, and you choose to help other people on their journeys. And this is why you're here, and you know this. However, you've forgotten about what you did all that time ago. It is said by some of your earthbound humans that all that is required for tyranny to flourish and prosper is for good men to sit back and do nothing. Well, that's a very limited human way of understanding what it is that is this negligence, this error in judgment, which is what sets you on your path back into being a corporeal human being. You were before all this in a highly exalted state. You are one of those beings that creates worlds and creates systems, systems being networks of worlds, would be the best way you could understand it, who worked multidimensionally. This is what you did, and you know this on a soul level, not consciously, but on a soul level. So the errors that you have made are being atoned by your life, your lives on this small blue planet. And that's it. So the advice you're being given is to continue this work to release the negativity that's accumulated in you, because you are becoming less and less capable of functioning the more of this negativity is stored within you that's not being released. And of course, this is something you chose. You chose to come into this world with a forceps delivery, which would mean that you'd be blocked in this way, which means you'd be experiencing this pressure in this way, which would mean it would be very difficult for people to get too close to you. All these things you arranged in great detail, as you are perfectly well aware. So tread carefully, Keith. Tread carefully amongst the delicate blooms that are the human beings on this planet, And remember that most of them are nothing like as strong as you are. And respect that fact. And be very, very careful. I did just ask, do you have the courage to face me, if there were any more things I needed to know about, if there's any more questions that I should perhaps ask. And the answer was pretty emphatic and deadpan, which is that if you needed to know more, you'd have been given it. Get on with what you've been given. And so it is. So thank you. Do you have the courage to face me? The answer is yes, I do have the courage to face you, and no, it isn't easy. And some of what you've shared is extremely confusing, and I will need to go away and meditate on it. Thank you very much.